Welcome to London Lips YouTube channel. Welcome if you're new and welcome if you're not. So today we're going to be talking about finances. Yeah, we're going to be talking about how so many people around the world are broke and are spending their time pretending that they're making decisions to live an alternative lifestyle and that is a choice. So I'm going to read you guys this email that this lady sent to me because I had made a comment on Instagram that said, like, you shouldn't have to live in your car. And I received an email from this woman. She was in the DMs. And I want to read to you what she said to me.
Miss, are you crazy? I'm living a great life. I'm saving loads of money on rent, money that my friends and family are not saving. Think before you talk. Some of us enjoy this.
Now, I wasn't about to go back and forth with her, but I knew this lady was lying, not only to me, but she was lying to herself. There's a lot of people right now who are living in cars, living, in tents, having to go country to country, pretending they want to be, digital nomads, because they cannot afford the cost of living in the country they initially resided in. There are people out here who are saying, I'm enjoying this, I'm saving rent money. I've seen one guy, he lives on the bus. He travels from bus to bus to bus. And he's saying, yeah, I'm loving this because I'm saving rent money. No, you're broke. The system has made you broke. You can't afford to rent. You can't afford to have a home. And there's no point in dressing this situation up because as long as people spend their time pretending this is something they enjoy, the government all around the world, not just here in the UK, not just in the USA, they will continue to put prices up and make out people are doing this as a choice when people are doing this in desperation. There are people who have had to move thousands and thousands of miles away from their family members because they cannot afford to rent, buy a home or live a decent lifestyle in the area or country they was born in, okay? Sell things up, it's the greed of the rich, and we are going to get so into this in this video. Oxford Street, expensive area in London, full of big shops, all the chain stores are up there, it's an expensive area with a lot of, shops. I remember you could walk down Oxford Street and you could have a really nice day shopping. Even if, you didn't want to spend a lot of money, you could buy yourself a few things. You could walk around Oxford Street. Oxford Street was a nice place to be. Do you know what it's like if you step to Oxford Street in the evening and you walk down Oxford Street now? Oxford Street is full of tents and homeless people. There are homeless people everywhere you turn. The first time I went in the evening, I hadn't been in a while. I said, let me go Oxford Street. I like a bit of Oxford Street, see what's open, see if there's some bars. Let me go for a walk down Oxford Street. I headed to Oxford Street thinking I was going to see the Oxford Street that I used to know and I used to love with a passion. No, that was not what I was met with. I was absolutely shocked. I literally froze in shock, disgust. I could not believe I was in the UK. I couldn't believe I was in a first world country. I could not believe the amount of people who were lying there on the floor with boxes, tents, duvets, just lying there and just, trying to get, some sleep and trying to get comfortable for the night. I thought I was in a third world country. I did. You would never think this was a first world country. It is absolutely disgusting. It's not just the situation in the UK, guys, okay? It's not just in the UK. This is worldwide. USA, same thing. Piles and piles of homeless people. When I really lost my shit? When I really went crazy? When I'd really had enough? I went shopping in Asda, which is a massive supermarket chain here in the UK, right? I don't know if it's worldwide, but we have it in the UK. So if you're an American, because I have quite a few American followers, it'll be the equivalent of your Walmart probably. So I went to Asda. Now, every time I go to Asda, somebody asks me for some money. There will be somebody outside and they say do you have any change? And if I've got change, I'll give it to them. Or maybe if I come back out the shop, it depends. A lot of the time, I'm not carrying cash anymore because they have made this a cashless society to make life even harder for the people who are homeless. But anyway, we'll get into that one a bit later on in the video. So I go into Asda. As I go in, I see a young boy standing around. So I'll say this guy's maybe 15, 16 maximum. And he's standing outside and I see him talking to people. So I go into the shop and I come back out and he's like, do you have any change? And I'm like, no, I don't have any change on me, right? And I'm looking at this boy and I'm like, this boy is like 16 maximum. Dressed, he's dressed decently, but he's out here begging for change. A 16-year-old, 15 to 16 years old. I've not really seen, kids in the UK who are having to beg for money. It's normally adults, okay? Now, I looked at this boy, and as I walked with my shopping, I couldn't go home without going to the cash point and getting this boy some money because my heart couldn't do it. I couldn't believe I was seeing a boy, a normal-looking young teenager, because people like to say, these people that are begging, they're from, foreign gangs and, people have put them out there to make you feel guilty because they're kids. No, this was, an English boy, a black English boy, British boy, right, who looks reasonably trendy, who is literally had to stand outside the supermarket and beg people for money. And every time someone gave him money, I would see him count the money up as though he was trying to get enough money to probably get a meal for his family, okay? And it pissed me the hell off. And excuse me if you don't like these words I'm using, because I was so angry. I was like, do you imagine what it's like to be a young person, to stand outside a supermarket and degrade yourself and be begging? Your friends could see you. Anyone you know could see you. Do you know how you would get dissed out when you go back to school? Do you know how many people would laugh at your situation when you go back to school? Do you know how you would feel? Do you know how degrading it is? He must be desperate to feed not only himself, but probably his siblings, his mother. This situation is absolutely unacceptable, and it's a situation that is not just in the UK, it is worldwide. There's absolutely no reason why governments cannot get together and solve this. And there's going to be people that say, no, they can't do anything about it. Inflation, yes, they absolutely can. They absolutely can do something about it. Worldwide, this is a plan. Every single country, the rents have become sky high. I've seen people who have moved from the UK to save money. I've seen people who have moved from the USA to save money. They have moved to places like Africa, miles away from their family and friends, not because they want to be out there sweating in 60-degree heat, because they could not afford to get a place where they lived. They've now gone to Africa, okay, to save this money. Now the rents over there are skyrocketing. The rents are so high in places like Ghana, it doesn't make any sense. And not only are the rents high in places like Ghana, they are asking people to pay months and months of rent in advance. Now, people shouldn't even have to be sitting at home thinking, let me go to Ghana and sweat out in 60-degree heat to save money. And I'm going to tell you they won't save money, even though there's some people who are lying on the net and making out it's a good move. They won't save money because this is a worldwide plan for governments to make people so broke that they can enslave them, have them working like a dog 24/7 for absolute low wages. We've seen it done in, many, Chinese countries, and they're ready to bring this everywhere, and it's happening quick and fast. And there's some people who are pretending they're liking these alternative situations, like sleeping in their car or being forced to live thousands of miles away from their family because they are broke and they cannot afford to live where they were born. Let me talk about the USA for a second now. I have seen the latest thing with the USA. It's like a trend. It's to say oh, my goal is to retire in Mexico, okay? Is it your goal to retire in Mexico? Do you really want to retire in Mexico? Or are you going to Mexico because you cannot afford to retire in the USA? That is a sad situation. It's a sad situation. I've seen places, in America, where there are children sleeping in cars and sleeping on the street with their parents. What sort of a place? Why in a first world country would there be children sleeping outside? It is disgusting. Do you know the danger these kids are in? They're at risk of trafficking. They're at risk of being unalived. They're at risk of rape. You know the dangers these kids are facing. It is absolutely shameful on first world countries. Please, if you're one of these people who are dressing this situation up and pretending you want to travel worldwide, become a digital nomad, all of these things, and you think it sounds cool because you can't afford to live in the country where you're from, just stop lying, okay? Stop lying. Because a lot of people in first world countries are ending in a situation, the same situation had all these migrants who are getting on boats and risking their life to get to other countries. It's the same thing. High costs of living. And there's no way I'm going to sit here and pretend that I believe so many people want to be sleeping in their car, pitching a tent, and travelling away from friends and family, and this is something they have chosen. No, you're being outpriced, and it's about time people just told the truth. It is a disgrace in a modern society. I was out and about the other day, and I seen a massive queue. Like, the queue was long. It was going down the street. I was like, what is going on here? Is this like a super sale? Has, some celebrity, is Cardi B in there? Like, what's going on? Why is the queue running down the street? So, being nosy, I went and I thought, let me have a look and see what's going on, because for this many people to be standing up here, this must be something really good. So I'm walking up the queue, and there's this person after person after person after, and I said, my goodness, why is everybody here holding a bag, or they've got a trolley, or they've got a sack in their hand? And I was going to ask them and say, like, why are you standing in this queue? But I said, no, let me just walk up and see what it is, get a little bit of the, fitness in. So I walked, and it was a long walk. Believe me, I was absolutely exhausted by the time I got to the top. And I seen a sign, and it said food bank. And I said, my goodness, you telling me in a first world country there is queues like, there is a concert like Beyonce's in there, because people are so poor in a first world country and they need to collect donated food. What is this about? This is absolutely shameful. Absolutely shameful. I remember when people would look at, first world countries, and they would think, people in these first world countries are having a good standard of living. Some people are having a good standard of living. But to see people, standing in a line like that for food, absolutely broke my heart. There were old people in the queue. They didn't even put a chair there for them to sit down on. Old people standing up for a long time, okay? And this is what I'm saying about these people who are saying, like, oh, wow, I'm loving it. I'm traveling the globe. I'm becoming a digital nomad. I'm gone here in Thailand and the rent is so cheap. You are being outpriced, and you better, start thinking quick, because if your money that you've got from the USA, the UK, if it runs out and you start having to work in them countries and you have to receive the wages that the people that live in that country receive, you are going to be living a very, very low standard of living. So it's about time people said, this isn't a choice for me. I am forced to become a digital nomad. I am forced to live in my car. I am forced to live in a tent. I'm forced to ride the bus. There was one guy a while ago, and he used to say, like, this was like a few years back, and he would say, I go onto these apps, right? And I'm loving it because I get to live in a variety of areas, and I find cheap hotel rooms, and I go and sleep in them. Now, for anyone that's seen his lifestyle and thought, oh, okay, that sounds fun. You just live in hotels. You go from, area to area. Come on. You can't even build up a collection of possessions. You have to have them in storage because you don't have one place to live in. And now, if you go to book a hotel rooms have inflated. The cost of a hotel room is completely different to what a cost of a hotel room was, a couple years back. Now a hotel room is so expensive. Some of the cheapest hotels that were pennies before charge, hundreds of pounds a night to sleep in them. And remember, even if you've gathered up the cash to sleep one night, they're expecting people to check out like at 11, 12 o'clock. And there's some days of the week when hotels are really expensive. So you'll find like between Monday and Thursday, hotel room prices are so high. Even for like cheap hotels like Travel Lodge, Premier Inn, that Monday to Thursday is highly priced. All the prices are really based around, businessmen staying in them. Saturday is also very highly priced. Saturday is priced high because people may have decided to go, on a trip somewhere, go and stay in another city, go out for the night and stay in a hotel room. So there's only about 2 days of the week when hotels are like priced lower. So this is not a lifestyle that is realistic for anybody unless you're actually somebody who is extremely highly paid. And if you're extremely highly paid, you don't need to be doing that because you can have a home. Now, they keep saying to people, you don't need to buy a home. I remember when they were saying, renting is the trendy thing to do. Renting is the modern way. Loads of America is rented out. Renting proves to be a big problem when people get older. The older you get, the less money you make. Yeah, the older you get, the less money you make, right? You have a point where you're not making that much money. Then you have a point where, your wages may peak like in your 30s. And then, as you get older, if you look at, the way wages go, as you become older, your wages go lower and lower and lower. And this is before retirement. So unless you've been promoted to like be the big CEO or something like that, your wages will actually decrease, okay? So while they're skyrocketing rents, your wages will be decreasing as you become older all the way up to your pension. How are you going to pay rent? Now, I know older people who got their mortgage back in the day, and now they're like 60 years old. Their mortgage is paid off. They only have to pay like bills, which are a lot nowadays. I'm not going to downplay that. Bills are way higher than they used to be, but they own their home, solid out. They bought their home back in the day and they paid over the years, and now they're retired and they can just live off the money. How is an old person going to pay rent? Somebody tell me, where is an old person who is on a pension going to be finding 3 grand a month to rent somewhere? And there are so many old people now who are actually homeless because of this exact reason. Old people who are pensioners sleeping in Oxford Street with a blanket. And this is not just in the UK, and I keep repeating this, it's worldwide, because people need to realise it's not just, a UK, or it's just not just, an American, it's a worldwide problem, guys. And it's a serious problem, and everybody should be concerned about it. You should be concerned because where are your elderly relatives going to be living if they don't own a home? And even if they do, are they going to be able to pay the bills? Like, every person should be dedicated to this topic. Please, people, stop wasting time. And I'm going to be talking a bit about what's been going on in the UK in a new video, because some people want their country back, and I'm going to be talking about that in another video. But I'm saying, people need to be focused on this situation. If you are a person and you are like getting into your older years and your family members have moved miles away to like Thailand or something, and you're in another country to save money, or as I said, a lot of Americans, the goal is now to go to Mexico. They've gone so far away from you. When you're an old person, there is nobody to check on you, nobody to look after you, nobody to carry your shopping, nobody to see you're getting dementia, you're lost outside. This is what is happening. This is what is going to happen to a lot of old people. There's old people lying in a tent in a first world damn country, okay? And I don't really care if it's a third world country, because no one should be living like that in any country. It is absolutely getting me, and right now you can hear me, guys. I'm starting to get, my heart's racing a bit. I'm getting annoyed. I am getting annoyed because I'm passionate about this. What the hell is going on, guys? And I'm sure you guys feel the same as me. Like, it's not useful to society for people to pretend in desperation, to be pretending that they are happy about these changes because they're trying to maintain an image, okay? Now, there's a difference between somebody who just wants to travel, like you're having a normal lifestyle. Maybe you think you want to go and live in Australia for a bit, or you're a young person and you just want to see the world, and then you're going to come back, you're going to get a home, you're going to settle. That is different to people who are being forced to, travel around. And because a lot of people are so image conscious and they want to be seen as, their life's going to perfection, they're making money, they're catching a bag. A lot of people are lying and pretending this is what they want for their life, and they absolutely don't. And I'm noticing society is getting to a way where, like, society is becoming a place where everything people can't have, they pretend they don't want it. Do you know what I'm saying? They pretend they don't want it. So, like, let's use this as an example, yeah? They can't find Prince Charming. This is just an example. They say, I don't want Prince Charming. You want Prince Charming, you just can't find him. You just haven't got access to him. They're just not making the right quality men now for you to find a prince. People need to start being honest, because when we are lying to ourselves and lying to others, it makes society worse. People say, it's bad, it's bad energy here in the UK. The energy is so negative in the UK. The energy in the UK is negative because people deep down don't feel positive about their future. You'll find you can come out in the UK and nobody's happy. Nobody's happy. And, people are miserable. And people keep saying people are miserable. Yes, people are miserable. I watched this woman yesterday. She's pregnant. She got on the train. Nobody offered her a seat. Heavily pregnant woman. Now, you can't always tell what's wrong with other people. Somebody can look like they're healthy and they can have, other things wrong with them. But on the whole train of people, there's somebody who could have gave this pregnant lady a seat, but they couldn't be asked. They can't be bothered to be nice anymore. And people need to stop lying. There is clear problems going on. Before I go, I want to tell you a quick story. Now, I was at work and a lady from work came in and she was looking kind of annoyed. So I said, "What's wrong with you?" And she said, "A homeless guy asked me for £1." And I said, "Oh, did you give it to him?" And she said, "Absolutely not." And she said, "Why would I give it to him? Why don't he get a job like us?" And she was really mad. And I was like, "Why didn't you just say you don't want to give it to him and just leave it at that? It's like £1." So this lady was really upset that this homeless guy had asked her for £1 and she was given the typical "why don't you get a job" type of thing. And I looked at her and I just said, "Oh, I hate people like this. Like, stop it." So I'm going to tell you about this guy I spoke to who is homeless, just to answer people like her who just don't get why he don't get a job. So, a guy who I spoke to, he had an apartment he was paying for. He was working. He was paying rent. Yeah, he was paying rent. And he had a job. Yeah, he had a job, guys. And his landlord decided he wanted his home back. Okay, which left him in a bit of a sticky, tricky situation because he needed to find somewhere else to go. When he was looking for other places to go to, the rents had inflated. They wanted a guarantor and he did not have one. He also was finding his wages were not high enough, even though he was working full time. And for you guys that say, "Why don't you just get a side hustle?" It's not as simple as that. And you absolutely know it. So this poor guy ended up being homeless. When he became homeless, many things happened to him on the street, okay? He also was finding it very hard to stay clean for work. So his job then let him go. He then had no job, no home. His mental health was deteriorating, as you can imagine when you're sleeping on the street. He was scared every day because on the street there are many people and things that can happen to you. Attacks. As you can imagine what could happen to a guy who is on the street by himself. He did not have any family members who were willing to help him or anybody he could turn to. And his life was terrible. While sleeping on the street, not only did his mental health become really bad, he became sick. Can you imagine sleeping outside with the temperatures? Sometimes it's freezing, sometimes it's extremely hot, sometimes it rains. The shoes on this man's foot were wet, his clothes were wet, they were dry, they would smell damp. Please be really thinking about this when I'm talking about this guy's situation. He could find nowhere to go. His life was ruined. He was depressed. He was sad. He wanted to end his life. So the answer to the question is, oh, and by the way, he had no fixed address anymore. And the answer to, this colleague of mine's question is, try being homeless yourself, love, and see how that goes for you. Try being evicted, losing your job, and getting back on your feet with no fixed address. This is not an easy thing. So stop being, so judgmental. And, people need to show empathy for people who are in bad situations. Remember, someone's situation that is bad, one day it's their situation, the next day it could be yours. You never know when you'll be struck down with bad health or something bad will happen to you. Maybe you'll get a death in your family. You will have a breakdown. You do not know. Do not be out here thinking you're above people. Humans are humans. It doesn't matter. Don't look at that man in the cardboard box in Oxford Street and think he is nothing and you are something better than him. There are people out there who are so absolutely, sick. They will walk past a homeless man and piss on him and his box. Can you imagine? You're in the worst situation of your life, depressed, nowhere to go, no family, no friends. You're in danger, and then this disgusting guy who went on a night out decides he's gonna unzip his trousers and piss on you in your box. How do some people sleep at night? There have been cases where homeless people have been set on fire while they've slept. I have seen people who sleep in tents, right? Some people don't know this, some people do know this. A lot of people who sleep in tents have to have the tent unzipped. Why? Because they need to look out, because people run attacks on them while they're in their tent. Imagine seeing a human just in despair, just going through the most, and you're thinking about throwing something at them, attacking them, pissing on them, setting their tent on fire. This is a sick, sick world. Anyway, guys, I have gone on enough. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know what you think about the current situation worldwide with this cost of living crisis that I say has been created by the rich on purpose. I'll see you guys on another one. Thanks so much for watching.
Life move fast and you do what you want. At this time, doing what I want.